G'day, welcome to Market Sam After Work. Today I want to do a video on ELR hunting, or extreme long range hunting. Something that you see a little bit of. It's on the internet in various forms. It's conversations that you hear about occasionally. And I suppose I want to put forward a perspective from a ELR shooter, but not an ELR hunter. And that is basically that it's not an ethical thing to be doing in 99% of places. It's not an ethical thing to be showing off on the internet, whether it's for advertising or promotion or for ego or for clicks or whatever it is. It's not particularly, in 99% of the places, it's not a good thing for our industry, for our pastime, or something that we should be focusing on. So that's the upfront of what I would say about it. As for the details, yes, there's more nuance to it than that, as always. So I want to go through and explain a little bit. To start off with, no, it's not something I recommend or do. ELR shooting we do a lot of. It's what our channel's mainly about. It's what me and Sam like to do a lot of, but that's ELR target shooting. Shooting square bits of steel, 24-inch bits of steel, out at extreme long range. Very much about the challenge of it, very much about the engineering, the understanding, the dealing with needing the spotter shooter team, all the things to be able to get onto target. Lots of fun in doing that, lots of challenge in doing that. It's very much what we do. But not something we'd use on an animal in any form whatsoever, or be that a human being, or be that an animal, or be that anything in the way of trying to do a hunting job or a killing job. It's not something we would do. As for when it is that job, actually hunting, then there are some rules I put into place. There are some things to keep it ethical and to keep it as to a logical thing to do in a real sense from our perspective, and I'll put those in place. One of them is using enough energy in the round to do the job effectively. If you're trying to kill an animal, then there is a case of putting enough energy in the round to make sure that it doesn't just able to kill, because I suppose there's some brackets on what people say. Can a bullet kill a kill at a certain distance? And that is a very different thing of will it kill, and that's another thing again to will it kill effectively. So go through and break that down. One, can a bullet kill at any given distance? The simple rules I go with is if a bullet is still traveling through the air, sometimes even if it's bounced, but certainly if it's still traveling through the air, then yes, it can kill. A bullet still is going to be traveling at somewhere in the vicinity of 400 to 500 feet per second, pretty much know how far it's traveling. It's going to be traveling at that speed, even a little 22 round, but it's still going to be traveling at that sort of speed. And then if it hits something in the right place, that is enough energy to cause a fatal injury. Will it kill? Well, that same scenario, if it's in the wrong place, then maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just be a flesh wound in the lead or something like that, which will be something that won't necessarily kill it. Well, not necessarily fast enough anyway to make it ethical. So that goes into effective energy, and that's another thing. Once you've gone from can it to will it to then effective, you can end up with an injury that may cause an animal to die 3 hours, 3 weeks, or 3 months, or a year later because of what you caused it. If you stop it being able to fend for itself properly, you stop being able to eat, you turn it into dying of septicemia or dying of blood poisoning through an injury that's created which wasn't lethal at the time but ends up being lethal, then that is all something that, yes, it might end up killing the animal, but it is not effective or ethical in any sense. To be effective and ethical from the bullet's point of view, from the terminal ballistics, it needs to create enough damage as it goes into or passes through that animal. So enough percussion, or enough where it causes enough of an impact to cause a wound cavity, or it's able to pass through bone to go through the major organs that you're trying to euthanize or kill the animal with. Basically, it needs to have enough energy. So the bullet size, the efficiency, the speed of the bullet as it hits there, the expansion of the bullet, all those things are very relevant for being effective. So that is just the bullet. So that means in some people's minds, okay, if I use a fast enough bullet, which is high enough BC, and it's a big enough bullet, then I can go out a long way. Well, no, I would not say that either. There's another thing that has to be kept in mind with ELR shooting, is that it's the case for actually all this means of killing something, is that you are going forward in time. Now, whether that's 2 milliseconds or 3/4 of a second, or it's 2 seconds, or it's 5 seconds, all depends on how far the bullet is traveling. So how long the shot is. So the moment you go forward in time, then other things come into play. Whether that's a butterfly in the front of an animal that all of a sudden flaps its wing and that animal moves, or whether it's just decided to move, or whether there's something else that causes that animal to move. Plus, you've got wind and what wind's doing, and that's, I suppose, part of what goes on with a lot of people. They think, well, if I can use enough efficiency in my round, and I can use enough so the bullet's traveling fast enough, it's carrying enough energy, and I can do my job well enough so I can rein the wind, then I should be able to do the job out at extreme long ranges. Well, I would say that is, all those things are very relevant, but extreme long ranges, so when you're going into where the bullet is traveling for, I would say, more than half a second. But let's go to a second in some circumstances. When you go to a second, in a second a lot can happen. I can move my whole hand there and back, and I use my body all the way and back to one side to the other side, all inside a second. So to me, half a second is the bullet travel time that you've got. In half a second, your chances, at least, of something moving have been limited down to, probably less than 10%, probably less than 5%. When it comes down to it, there's very little chance this happening. You are then also not having to deal with much wind you're trying to deal with as well, so your skill, your accuracy, all that sort of stuff. But you've also got less, your half MOA, or really your 1.5 MOA group that you have to sort of account for. You've probably got to allow for a 1.5 MOA group of your accuracy of your rifle, regardless how accurate it really is. This is a one-shot chance, and potentially one in 50 shots is 1.5 MOA, where the rest are 1/4 MOA. That's all something you have to allow for, and this is one shot, one kill sort of thing in the fashion of what you're talking about of hunting. So 1.5 MOA group, that turns into, really, for most setups, that is 300 meters or 300 yards, out to probably a maximum of around the 500 meters, maybe 600 yards sort of stuff, is all in that bracket, where you've got half a second of bullet time, where your 1 MOA or 1.5 MOA group is coming into where it's around a 6 or 7 inch group, also depending on the size of the animal you're talking about. But if you're talking about hunting, certainly for eating, so deer, that type of thing, then you're talking about a group that is going to do the job in the way of getting the job done effectively and efficiently. The bullet energy out there isn't too complicated. It all starts to come and make sense. So I can go through the finer details of that side of things and the nuances of it. But what I'm really saying is, above all else, is the half second bullet time is super relevant to being ethical, or doing the job in, whether you call it honorable, whether you call it, I suppose, there's another thing that goes into this, the long range, what some people would call sniping, is to a lot of the world not seen as being ethical in any sense whatsoever. Hunting is about giving the animal, for a lot of people, I'm not saying for all, but for a lot of people, is giving the animal a fair chance. So you are doing this, you're pitting skills against them. So getting closer is part of the job. And yes, that's harder sometimes. You have to be in the right place where you're not being smelled. They can't see you. You don't want them to get away. You don't want to lose that opportunity. But that's part of the job. That's what makes it hard. Sitting back a long way and shooting a long distance is making it easier, which there's a side of ethics that attach to that side of things as well. Not really for me to judge on the particular scenario. There's lots of things. It turns into pest control, it turns into animal or herd control with the numbers and culling and all that sort of things. There's all sorts of other things involved with this, but there still is a level of ethics, not just for you as a person or for the people around you, but also for what you're putting forward. I would like to think we can all do this as role models in various forms, and we want to have our bases covered. So that means there is nothing wrong with the hunting. Certainly when it's harvesting, it's getting meat for the freezer, that side of things, but it's also when it's culling, it's animal control in the way of numbers control, doing the job that we have on this planet to make sure we're doing the best we can. But that also comes with the bracket of taking a shot that's too far and taking those chances. And then the follow-up side of things, if you've got especially in shooting over hunting and over valleys and things like where a lot of long shots are taken, then, and you have a half a day hike to get around over there, if you've just injured that animal, you have pretty close to no chance of a decent follow-up in the way of getting that job done. And for those people who show this stuff on the internet, this is encouraging people that have less skill, that have less knowledge, out of your promotion. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's ethical, and I don't think we should be doing that. As for the peculiar instances where it all works, okay, there is instances where that all works. Should we be showing it off? No, I don't think we should. I think that stuff that, okay, if that happens well, that works nicely. Okay, I get it. Is it something to brag about? Is it that you took an extra long shot? I don't see it as an ethical thing. I don't see it as a proud thing. Really long shots, I do a lot of, and I get it. But I don't try and shoot at an animal at that range. I'm happy with the target side of things. Gives me the fact that it's still super hard to do. There's no chance of it moving, still really hard to hit in the real ELR stuff, but there's also no problems when all of a sudden I just shot the thing in the foot or in the butt or took an ear off or broke its jaw and then it ran away. I don't have any issues with my steel targets. They don't complain to me. They end up with a dent in them, I flatten them out, I paint them again, they're out another day. So a little bit preachy, I get it, but I would like to say for those people who are putting forward extreme long range hunting, I get you're no doubt proud of what you've done. I would like to put a different perspective to that. I'm not trying to say you're a bad person, but I am saying to show it off isn't good for our industry, isn't good for our ethics, isn't good for the people that we're trying to be in every other sense. There is some thought to put it in, I suppose, what I'd say. For me, it stops at 300 meters. Simple as that. Could I hit things further? Yes, for sure. But why would I try? The chances have just moved into where there is too much chance of something else happening, and I really don't want to put the effort into making sure I followed up on that and chasing things around and trying to find things and spending a day looking for things because of something happened. Because, like I said, a butterfly or a grasshopper just jumped and the animal jumped at that same instant as the trigger broke. I can't control that. It's in the future. I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future. Anyway, guys, like I said, a bit ranty. I think it's relevant, and I think there's some posts out there that aren't good things to happen, regardless of the views. They shouldn't be there because they're not good for our industry and they're not encouraging the right sort of behaviour. Anyway, guys, thank you much for checking in. We'll catch you next time.